can sometimes be a little naive and also a slow learner, which is a very bad combination. And this is why it took me more than once to be suspicious of when there's a crowd of people in the room with all eyes on me as I am about to eat something. As a result, I have come up with a handy checklist so that you can learn from my terrible, terrible mistake. In the event that you find yourself in a room full of people, all watching you as you are about to eat something, ask yourself these 3 simple questions. Question number 1, is this my birthday and/or wedding day? And am I about to eat cake? Now, if the answer to this question is yes, you're probably in the clear. I don't know your family and friends, but I'm hoping that they are not going to harm you during your celebration. And I can speak from a career of over 16 years, working as a behind-the-scenes event professional. I never saw anything bad happen when a room full of people watched a bride and groom eat cake. Now, if the answer to this question is no, advance to question number 2. Are you engaged in a professional menu consultation with your chosen food services provider for some upcoming banquet? This one can be a little tricky. One time I was working as a director of catering for a large hotel that was about to roll out brand new menus. As a result, the chef and his team had prepared a special chef's table tasting event down in the kitchen for the entire management team to enjoy. Unfortunately, I had a client who had shown up a little bit late, and by the time I finished with her, everyone had already gotten started. So I showed up at the table taking my seat and was informed that I had already missed the soup course. However, upon special request of the group, the chef nonetheless brought me my bowl of consommé. And so I looked down at my soup cup, and I looked at 12 pairs of eyes all on me as I was about to taste it. I dipped my spoon into the soup, I brought it up to my lips, and the chef leaned forward. What do you think? Now, as the director of catering, I work very closely with chefs, and I had learned that they are very sensitive, and they carry knives as part of their job. So I thought diplomacy would probably be best, and I said, well, it's a little simple, isn't it? At that, the 12 people surrounding me burst into laughter at my diplomatic characterization of hot water with parsley floating in it as simple. But thankfully, this was not a situation so drastic that I could not quickly recover from it. Which leads me to question number 3. If you are about to eat something and all eyes are upon you, ask yourself this: am I a contestant in a food eating contest and/or the 2001 hit TV show Fear Factor? Now, I can't help you if your answer to that question is yes. You made this bed, you lie in it. But if your answer is no, get out. Do not, under any circumstances, do what I did and eat the food anyway. So what happened was I had gone out to dinner with my friend Bob. And Bob and I had been friends for many years, enjoying many meals together, and in fact, traveling together. We'd been camping together, we'd gone to the beach together, we even took a crazy road trip pilgrimage down to Graceland together. And Bob is very particular and not afraid to be assertive when he knows what he wants. So on this particular evening, we had decided to check out a new sushi joint in town. And as we sat down, Bob engaged in a conversation in Japanese with the sushi chefs behind the counter. Now, Bob had visited Japan frequently. He did a lot of work in Japanese tourism here in the US, and he had even lived in Japan for a number of years. So his conversing in Japanese was not entirely unexpected. After coming to some sort of agreement with everyone's heads nodding, the sushi chefs got to work preparing their meal, and Bob and I continued our conversation. Presently, we were both presented with platters of our food. I had an array of brightly colored morsels on mine. Bob had something that was kind of gray-brown and slimy looking on his platter. And then, as only a good friend can do, he offered me the first taste. And I kind of looked at what he had on his plate, and I looked at what I had on my plate, and I said, "No, thanks. I think I have plenty." To which he said, "Now, Catherine, I have never known you to shy away from trying a new food. Please, I insist." Now, sushi etiquette states that you're supposed to pop the whole thing in your mouth. So, under the watchful eyes of Bob, the sushi chefs, and all of the people sitting at the sushi bar, took my chopsticks over, grabbed a piece, popped it into my mouth, and only belatedly realized my mistake. This was something called natto, or as I like to call it, snotto, because of its peculiar slimy consistency. So, with the thing in my mouth, I made the fateful mistake of biting down. In doing so, I released the flavors into my mouth. Unfortunately, it did not taste nearly as appealing as actual snot. I have since read that people liken snotto to the pungency of a strong cheese. However, the way this rotting food tasted in my mouth, the only cheese I could think of is toe cheese from a gangrenous, amputated foot, with some of that foot mixed in. Unfortunately, having bitten into the food, it had the effect of beheading the hydra, where once there was a single piece of snotto in my mouth, now there were two. Part of the snotto was dangling in long strands in the back of my throat, where my stomach immediately rejected the offering. But meanwhile, additional lumps of the snotto were stuck in my mouth that was quickly filling up with a tidal wave of spit, mixing in with the rice, the seaweed, the snotto, and soon-to-be vomit. As my face turned red and tears filled my eyes, I realized this was going to get worse. Everyone was watching me, and I couldn't think of how to modestly eject the snotto from my mouth. I looked down and realized that my tiny napkin on my lap was way too inadequate to contain the horribleness in my mouth. With tears running down my face, I ran to the bathroom and spit the whole thing out into the toilet. When I was done, I washed my face with cool water. I rinsed my mouth with more of the same. And when I felt like I had composed myself enough, I walked out of the bathroom, the walk of shame across the sushi bar, and took my seat again next to Bob. He looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" And gamely I said, "Sure," and tried to finish my meal. Throughout the rest of the evening, I enjoyed several glasses of sake and my own sushi with lots of wasabi. When I got home that night, I brushed my teeth twice, and then I brushed again the next morning. When Bob called me the next afternoon at work and asked me how I was doing, I told him that I could still taste the horrible snotto in the back of my mouth. And he said to me, well, Catherine, you know, natto is an acquired taste. I'm sure you'll like it better next time.